Hey, what's happening everyone? I'm Kevin from Simpledrummer.com. In this video, I'm going to be talking about 10 of the most important things that every beginner drummer should be practicing. In today's world, it's so easy to find lesson content for the drums. It's really easy for a beginner drummer to get overwhelmed. That's so much content. How do you know where to start, what bases to cover, and how to connect all those dots? I'm going to present to you 10 things that I think every beginner drummer should be actively practicing. If you cover all of these areas at some point in your practicing, you'll progress to be a well-rounded drummer and musician. I hope you're ready to get started, because I know I am. So let's get the ball rolling. One of the most important things that every drummer should be practicing on a regular basis is stick technique. I mean just making sure that you have a decent grip on the sticks and you practice how to stay relaxed and keep your rhythm steady. Now there's lots of different techniques that you want to be continuously working on. One of those is single strokes. That's where you alternate your sticks, right, left, right, left. At a slow tempo, it's pretty easy to keep that rhythm steady. But I want you to also pay attention to the height of your sticks. When you practice stick technique, you want to take the opportunity to equalize your right and left hands. So when you play those notes on your snare drum or practice pad, watch how high you're winding up the sticks. You want every single note to be equal in height. That way it's going to be equal in volume and it'll make your rhythm steadier. Some of the other techniques that are really great to practice are double strokes, and that's where you play 2 notes with each stick. Those 2 techniques, single strokes and double strokes, are pretty much the salt and sugar of drumming. They're in everything. So you really want to get to know them and really work on how your hands can play those techniques at faster tempos and how steady your rhythm is. This isn't something that happens all in one day. So my recommendation to my students is take 5 minutes when you start your practice session to just warm up with your sticks. When you first pick up sticks and learn how to play, chances are you learn how to play a steady beat. But I don't want you to think in terms of having a list in your head of these are the beats that I know. You won't get very far. There are infinite possibilities of what you can do with the bass drum, or on the snare drum, or with your cymbals. So when you're practicing different beat patterns and your groove playing in general, explore variations. If you learn one beat pattern, what are some other bass drum rhythms you can play along with that? What else can you do with the snare? Or are there some hi-hat rhythms that you can add to that beat pattern you just learned? When you practice your groove playing, you also want to work on feel, and that means how the beat sounds and feels to the listener. If you record yourself and you listen back, does it sound nice and steady like you're playing some music, or does it sound a little bit scattered like you're trying to keep it together? When you're practicing, you want to get to the point where everything sounds good and feels good too. Hey, if this is your first time at my channel, then click that red subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell. Another one of the things that's so important for beginners to practice regularly is counting out loud. This is because almost everything we practice has some kind of musical context. If you're working on a beat pattern or a drum fill, there's musical timing there. Now, a drummer is responsible for the timing in music. We provide that for the band. So it's really important that you're hearing that timing whenever you're practicing. The best way to do that is to say it. Activate your voice, don't just think it. When you say it, your ears are also hearing it, and that's the most important thing. When you spend time playing a beat pattern, count the timing to it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or 1 E and 2 E and These counting mechanisms are really important because they help you to keep time even when you play the wrong notes, but they help you to place the notes that you're playing in the right spots in time. So that way you know if you're doing it correctly or not. If you make a conscious effort to count out loud when you practice beat patterns and drum fills, you're making timing number 1 and you're getting stronger at it. Over the course of months, you're going to notice that your timing will be really strong when you're playing music, and that's what people want in a drummer. Another important thing for beginners to check out are your basic rhythms. When you first start playing learning beats, that's great, but do you know what the rhythms are that you're playing? Do you know what quarter notes are? 1/8 notes? 1/16 notes? You have to know these basic rhythms, what they sound like, how to play them. That's really important. And you also want to know what they're called. If you're jamming a song with someone and they tell you, no, I want you to play 16th notes there. Well, you have to know what they're talking about. So it's important that along the way, you open up your ears and your mind to those little tidbits of theory. Even if you don't know how to read music, understanding your basic rhythms and what they're called and how they sound and how to play them is so important. It's a really big part of your drumming, and you want to make sure that you don't overlook that. Drummers love practicing drum fills. I know I do. It's incredibly fun to learn some cool rhythm and be able to jam a beat and then rock out and jump right into that cool rhythm. Most beginners stumble with their timing when they try playing drum fills. Now, one of the reasons for this is because they're often trying to play rhythms that are too complex. Get used to using the basic rhythms with the beats that you know so that you can keep time when you play a drum fill. How do you keep time during a drum fill? Count. Remember, counting out loud is how we keep time. And anything we play that has some kind of musical context will probably have timing behind it. So it's really important that you learn to play drum fills that are within your skill level and practice to count out loud when you play them. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. It's a little way that you can help support my channel, and I really appreciate that. The next thing that I want to talk about with you is reading musical notation. A lot of people shy away from this in the beginning. They want to learn some drumming, but they don't want to look at any notes or have to learn anything like that. It looks so hard. But it's incredibly easy to learn, and it's really important that you make it part of your learning from the very beginning. And I'll tell you why. When you don't know how to read notation, you're relying solely on your memory. That means anything that you've learned, you have to remember how to play it, what it sounds like, and how it goes. When you can read musical notation, the notes on the page tell you exactly what to play. So you don't have to waste any energy trying to remember how it goes or what to do. This is a huge benefit to your practicing because I could show you 10 different beat patterns and ask you to try to remember them all and play them all. That would be difficult. But if I give you a worksheet that has 10 beat patterns on it and I ask you to practice them all, no sweat. You'll follow the notation and you'll be able to play all of them without having to think very much. If you've never learned to read musical notation for the drums, then check out this video that I made right here. It'll give you the absolute basics so that you can start making sense of written music along the way. If you feel like you need a little help connecting the dots with some of your drumming and the things you're practicing, check out the lessons at Simpledrummer.com. Every lesson is fully interactive with play-along videos that loop, so you can hit play and practice the material along with me until you get it right. There's also downloadable PDFs, a built-in metronome, and a progress tracker so that you can pick up where you left off every time you sit down to play. Click the link below and check out Simpledrummer.com. You can sign up now with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't love the lessons that you find on the website, then you'll get a full refund, no questions asked. It's that simple and 100% risk-free. Another thing that a lot of beginner drummers overlook is working on coordination and independence. Now, I know you might be thinking, but I already practice that kind of thing when I work on beat patterns, and you're absolutely right. You do get a little taste of it. However, playing the drums requires a high level of coordination. Sometimes you're playing with your hands and feet together, synchronizing like that in a beat pattern, and then other times you want to be able to play with your hands and feet more independently. It really doesn't take much. If you practice for 2 to 5 minutes at the beginning of your practice session, every day or every other day, and you just work on some simple coordination drills, over time, you're going to build a lot more skills. And then you'll see that when you tackle more advanced groove patterns later on, you'll have an easier time learning them because your body's a little more fine-tuned. This is an area that a lot of beginners overlook. If you want some ideas for some coordination exercises that you can practice, check out this video. Have you learned how to play any songs yet? If not, you really should. You want to remember that what you're learning is a musical instrument, and it's really important to apply it to music. So even at a beginner level, once you've learned to play a few beat patterns, maybe use the crash cymbal, and you have some basic skills, then start looking for some simple songs that you can learn how to play. It allows you to balance your attention and listening between the parts that you're playing on the drums and the music that you're trying to synchronize to. Now, there's another tremendous benefit of learning songs, even at a beginner level, and that is building musical experience. You have to get used to playing music and listening to all the different parts, the vocals, the bass, the guitars, keyboards, not just the drums, but everything else that goes into the music. This type of listening only comes with experience. You can't get it from a YouTube video or a book. You just have to spend time practicing with music to learn how to be a part of it. If you're stuck on which songs to learn, you can check out an article that I wrote about 20 easy songs for beginner drummers. The link is right there in the description. Now let's talk about rudiments. Rudiments are essentially sticking techniques. Now there are 40 internationally recognized drum rudiments, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to learn all of them as a beginner. Many of them require advanced techniques that you haven't learned yet. But rudiments are important. They are essentially sticking techniques that help us to be more expressive on the drums. I'd like to tell you 6 rudiments that I think every beginner should be actively practicing. The first 2 are single strokes and double strokes, and we've already covered that. Another really good rudiment for a beginner to practice is the triple stroke roll. This is where you play 3 notes with each hand. It's quite simple. Right, 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 left, left, left. This rudiment's great because it gets you tapping into the bounce of the stick, as well as hearing your notes grouped into 3s, which later we'll be calling triplets. There are 3 more that you want to check out: the flam, the drag, and the paradiddle. You want to make sure that you spend a little time every now and then working on these rudiments so that you build up these types of sticking techniques. Later on, you'll see that they'll allow you to be a lot more expressive on the drum kit, and that's what we're after. And now I want to talk about jamming with other people. This is really important to do, even at a beginner level. I've met a lot of drummers that think they don't have enough skills together. They need to learn lots of beats and fills and songs before they start playing music. Playing music is about making a real-world connection with someone else, where you're listening to what they're doing and you're bringing something to the table, whether it's one-on-one or in a group. This kind of experience you can absolutely gain even at a beginner level. Once you can keep a steady beat, that's really all you need. Even if you don't know how to play any songs, you can get together with a relative or a friend who plays guitar and say, "Hey, come on over to my place, let's jam a little." You can play that steady beat and just let them strum along to it or improvise a little guitar riff. You're going to connect with that person on a musical level, and that strengthens bonds and relationships. The other thing is that it's a great way of breaking the ice. If you get used to little jam sessions now, later on, when you want to play in a band and learn some songs, there's more expectations and more pressure. You'll be more prepared and less nervous. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that when you play music with other people, there's a lot of fun, but there are failures too. Sometimes you won't play your best. Sometimes your timing will be a little off. These things are going to happen, and it's not a bad thing. It's a learning experience. You learn from your failures even more than you learn from your successes. And that's why it's important to always say yes. Anytime you have the opportunity to jam with someone, say yes, because you have nothing to lose and only experience to gain, even if that particular time isn't your best jam ever. So if you're a beginner drummer who's never yet had a jam session with any other musician, I want you to try and make that happen now. This is a great way to strengthen relationships and have fun while you're learning this incredible instrument. If you take these 10 things that I've outlined in this video into consideration and you practice them regularly, you'll have increased technical skills, a deeper knowledge of rhythms, and an understanding of notation, as well as musical experience. These are the kinds of things that are going to help you to grow and be well-rounded as a drummer and as a musician, and I think that's something we all want. Thanks a lot for watching this video. My name is Kevin from Simpledrummer.com, and I'll catch you next time.